Hello, Tom Votava here, and this is Donkey Kong for NES. This is the second time I've run through this game for Twin Galaxies. The first attempt was in 2004. This latest run is from the NES competition that ran from September of 2010 through the end of the year. I've been wanting to put up a video of this game for a long time, and since I didn't have my original run, I was unable to do so. But finally we have something here. I hope you all enjoy it. This game ran for 6.5 hours en route to just over 3 million points. I have no intention of showing the entire 6.5 hours here, because the video is actually quite repetitive, but you can get a feel for what to do to survive in this game just from watching a few levels. So to that end, we're going to show the first 6 levels to give you a taste of every difficulty setting. Level 6 is about where everything maxes out. And then after that, we'll move ahead to highlights and basic strategies, milestones, and that kind of thing. So, I'm pretty sure most gamers are familiar with Donkey Kong. Jumpman slash Mario here has to save Pauline from the monkey. He's got hammers, he can whack things with hammers, pretty simple. I won't burden you with the details of that, instead I'll just point out a few minor differences between the NES version and the arcade. Biggest thing is what you see right here. The ability to hide from barrels. All you have to do to hide from a barrel is climb up a ladder and stay just at the top of it, and barrels will never hit you. There's a safe spot like that at the top of every single ladder on the barrel stage. On the arcade, if you try that, something will eventually fall down the ladder and kill you. The other major difference with the arcade version is that the arcade has a very strange sequence of stages. The NES version here has a very simple layout. It's barrel stage, elevator stage, rivets. And then it just is always those 3 levels. Arcade jumps around a lot. You get the barrel stage every other screen. You get the high factory level, which doesn't even exist in this game. And most importantly, you get a kill screen after about 20, I think it's like 22 levels in the arcade version, whereas this game goes on for a really long time. There is a kill screen in this game. It requires a very long game to get to it. I actually came very close to succeeding at reaching the first kill screen on the NES. As you'll see, actually made a really good run at it, but just came up a little bit short. Okay, so here's some other basic strategies for the barrel stage. The most important is the wild barrels. We just saw one go straight down the side of the screen at the start of the stage, producing that fireball. They always follow a pattern. There's always two kinds of wild barrels, those that go straight down, and those that go in a zigzag pattern like that one. They always alternate. We just saw the zigzag, so the next one will be one that goes straight down. There's the one that's going straight down, so I know that the zigzag's next, so the safest ladder to climb towards that hammer is the one on the left. The one on the right is plagued by the potential of the zigzag barrel, and you want to avoid that. Unlike the arcade version, that's as difficult as it gets. The arcade version has many other kinds of wild barrels, you just have those. The elevator stage has a lot less to worry about than any other screen. Jumping across the elevators is really easy. Even here on level 3, the elevators move really slowly, so that it's rather easy to just jump across them along the top. Don't try those jumps exactly that way in the arcade version, by the way. The other thing is the final ladder that we just climbed there, those springs. We'll get to see a lot of that ladder as we go. That's the one place that can really get you. The rivet stage is probably the most dangerous. It's the most random. It's the one you have the least control over. Those firefoxes will appear in random starting positions every time you play, and their movements have some patterns towards following you, but in the end they're going to do what they're going to do, and most of the time that means getting in your way. All you can do is play it safe, make sure that you don't get yourself cornered, and just clear the rivets as fast as possible. You have the help of some hammers if you can get to them. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Another unique feature about the barrel stage that I've noticed compared to the arcade version is the barrels that Donkey Kong throws. He tends to throw them a lot faster when you use your hammer. Look at right now at the top, there's like 4 barrels, there's a 5th, and they have so many of them that it's almost like the game doesn't know how to manage all of them in one place, and strange things happen as far as barrels rolling off the edge of the right side of the screen, an inordinate number of barrels falling down ladders that normally wouldn't, and most oddly of all, at the top of the screen, every once in a while, it gets all scrambled. Right now, you can kind of see it. The level indicator, the upper right corner looks a little funny. The number of lives is orange. The final ladder's girder is white. Just odd things like that. This will happen a lot. I'll show you the times it happens. It's a strange glitch in the cartridge. Okay, here in level 4 is where the elevator level starts to become a little bit more difficult. The elevators are now at full speed, requiring you to climb down to here in order to successfully make it across. You can make this jump easier because the elevator's going down. You have to time it just so, but it's not that bad. And this is also the first time that you have to time the springs at that final ladder climb. I'll explain more of that as we go. No single strategy will work every time on the rivet stage. It's best to have a couple of plans in mind so that you can switch between them depending on what the game throws at you. what I like to do, if possible, is clear off all but the second level from the bottom on the left side. That way I can use this hammer after completely knocking out all the left-hand rivets and send as many firefoxes as possible over to the left where they should get stuck. In this case, it was somewhat unlucky. One of them appeared on the bottom of the screen and rolled right back into play, but normally you can imprison two of them at least if you're having any luck at all. I realize it's a bit conservative to just sit here on the ladder like this instead of jumping over all the barrels, but it's just too dangerous to jump over the barrels with very little reward. Every jump's worth 100 points. Jumping over multiple barrels is not worth any extra. I just jumped over 2 barrels there at the same time, and I got 100 points per barrel nonetheless. The arcade gives you better bonuses than that, but since this game doesn't, there's no reason to just gamble with your life just for a couple extra points. One thing you might have noticed by now is that I never collect the purse prize over on the right side of the screen. It isn't really worth the effort to me. It takes about 400 bonus seconds to get over there and back when things are going well, and if you have to wait for that fireball to get out of the way, it's even worse. Here's a good example of taking what the game gives you. All the firefoxes went to the top of the screen, so it's a perfect opportunity to take out the bottom rivets. We also get to see our first look at one of the main things you can do to manipulate the enemy's movement, and that is waiting at the bottom of a ladder on the right side of the screen. That tends to lure them down to you, and by doing this we were able to trap a couple of foxes against a rivet hole, where hopefully they will stay for the rest of the level. Not my smartest move there. I almost got run over from behind by being a little bit too aggressive. Now, one thing about hammering, if you haven't noticed, if you kill something, it always appears on the opposite half of the screen from where you're standing. So if you want something to appear on the right, you should stand on the left half of the screen. Okay, we've reached level 6. I'll stop blabbing for a bit and just let you watch, and see if you can pick up the strategies that I've mentioned up to this point. Okay, that's the end of consecutive programming here. Let's get to some highlights. Here's a good example of my right-hand ladder strategy. It normally doesn't work this well, but always be thankful when it does. 3 Firefoxes go all the way down the screen. Okay, jumping ahead even further, this is level 15. The letter F is in the level indicator. We've gone past the number 9, and they start counting from letters from A to Z. Here we have this little example, again, of why conservative is important with this barrel stage. Just sit here and patiently waiting for a nice wide opening, because the barrels truly are unpredictable. Things can go wrong in a hurry if you're not ready, and it's just easy enough just to sit there, watch the wild barrels, watch the main barrels, and just find your opening. Now here's some more fun. You take the hammer at the wrong moment, and the barrel hiding glitch goes into effect, and barrels you think you were about to hammer disappear. Back to the elevator stage for a second. Here's that final ladder that I've been talking about. Like with the arcade game, it's the most difficult ladder to climb in the game. You have to go at just the right moment, and sometimes you have to try climbing the ladder before you know if the right moment really is the right moment. Here's another example. It's all about the far right-hand spring. You want the spring to appear touching Donkey Kong's left toe, and most importantly, his left toe has to be on the ground for it to count. Ideally, you'd want the spring to be intersecting with that toe to give you the most beneficial start. Then, once you finally see that spring, and in this example, it takes forever, you move, and you pray that the next spring isn't the same exact position as the one you just saw. It has to be further to the left. Alright, more barrel glitching. This time the barrels actually fall right through the floor. They can happen from anywhere. And here we have another example of the static that can happen with the barrel stage. Here's a tip on that second hammer on the barrel stage. You gotta be watching Donkey Kong as you walk across. Here you see a wild barrel hit the hammer on the upswing. You have to make sure that you know exactly what he's doing, and if not, don't move. I just included this scene because of the cool score I get when I climb the ladder. Here's a common problem with the rivet stage. If you leave the lower right lip rivet for the very last one, you sometimes run into an issue where the Firefoxes try to guard it. You end up having to make all sorts of makeshift maneuvers sometimes to get the job done. Here's an example of what I meant earlier about the rivet stage requiring improvisation. Here, a simple plan of going after the hammer last on the left side, all of a sudden I get cornered briefly. That Firefox could have decided to run all the way to the left against me and I would have been dead. Luckily that didn't happen. I have some interesting issues trying to get that last rivet on the left, among other things, but it was a fun run through the level. Here's a fun escape. If you get somewhat cornered in the upper part of the screen and all the rivets are gone, you can always count on the Firefox to climb up the ladder, like it did there. This same advice holds true for trying to manipulate the situation to your advantage. Here, I can just stay at the bottom of this ladder, and eventually the Firefox will come down it. Once it does, I have a free run at the last rivets. And so here I am minding my own business at the top of a ladder, just patiently waiting for an opening. And it never occurs to me that I never normally wait on this ladder. I usually go up the middle one. Yet here I stand, just because that's where I happen to end up. Yeah, don't ever do that again. Death number 1. Okay, milestone time. We just completed level Z, which is level 35. 26 levels after level 9. This is the last legible thing we're going to see under the level indicator. From here on out, we're going to see various tiny images that are just stored on the cartridge for this, that, or the other thing. We start off with a blank space, and we'll get a bunch of other interesting things as we go. Keep watching that, and you'll see some examples of it. For instance, here we see in the level indicator, that's the O and the N in the word bonus, which can be found on the bonus indicator. Oh, by the way, 1 million points right now. Let this be a lesson to everyone watching. When you are using the hammer on the rivet stage, do not cross rivets. It's just a bad habit. If you're in the middle of crossing a rivet and you connect with an enemy, or the hammer expires, like here, you fall right through the rivets even though you've done nothing wrong. Death number 2 for me, don't let it be a death for you. Okay, here's another example of the lower right rivet. It's very difficult to figure out what the foxes are going to do. So, best not to take any chances, just finesse your way around until all of a sudden they give you an opening. Walking around a lot seems to work better than standing still. As promised, here's another example of static appearing in the barrel stage. Watch as Donkey Kong's right side turns blue. Murphy's Law is in full effect on this stage. Almost every strategy that I know is attempted and failed as I attempt to finish this stage. When things like this happen, all you can do is just keep on waiting and hope the clock doesn't run out. Most important thing is not to lose your patience and try anything too risky, such as this. A much better opportunity would have been there if I just would have waited. Time for another milestone. Crossing this final ladder will put me at 2 million points. Murphy's Law returns on this level. Again, sometimes when you're almost cornered, don't make a bad situation worse by trying anything crazy. Just wait for your opening. Just to prove that this game isn't always as hard as I've been showing, here's finally an example of something going right. I get my hammer, I clear out all the rivets, and get to start knocking out firefoxes and making the level really simple. Okay, back to the drama. That's more interesting. Here I almost get chased down as I hope in vain that these firefoxes will actually turn and go somewhere else. Notice that I quickly escaped from the side of the screen once I pinned the firefoxes in the middle. They can easily corner you in the side of the screen if you're not careful. Once you practice this game a lot, completing the final ladder of the elevator stage becomes second nature, where you can pull off the move almost without thinking. However, after playing the game for hours on end, I notice it gets progressively harder to do, as you can see with this nervous moment here. Here's a rare opportunity. Normally I will not go after the lower right rivet like this at the very beginning of the stage, but it actually worked to my advantage because of where everything was. I still think it's dangerous to do that. If you don't think you're absolutely sure, I wouldn't go for it, but it's there as food for thought. Not really much more to say about the barrel stage than I've already said, but look at Donkey Kong on this one. This is kind of a big moment in the game for me. I've got 2.6 million points, which means I'm about to break my old record. Really exciting moment. I've gotten 1.6 million points on just this one man, and yeah, remind me to stop talking. Death number 3. Okay, regroup. Here we are back at the rivet stage, and we have another problem with the Firefoxes being particularly protective of the last rivets. Here's just one more nice clean run through the barrel stage. It's also a big milestone. If you look at the scoreboard, we're approaching 3 million points. We will reach that score as soon as I reach the top of the level. Okay, time to wrap it up. As you can see by the fact that we're near the end of the video here, I have very little time left to live in this game, and I just had some final thoughts. I'm going to end up dying on level 122. The kill screen on this game is level 133. So I only missed it by like 11 levels. It took 6.5 hours to get this far. Maybe an extra half an hour is all it would have taken to reach the end. And quite honestly, it's quite doable. As you can see here, I almost had it. It had a couple of things, stupid mistakes, nervous mistakes, glitches, that prevented me from making it, but it's not a very hard game at all. It's way easier than the arcade game, for sure. The one curious thought that I have left is, what is the more difficult kill screen? This game, because it's so far into the game, or the one on the arcade machine? They each have their own sets of challenges, the arcade machine being more of a luck fest, the speed of it being obviously much more difficult to handle. This game has its own bit of challenges, such as, how does one do 132 elevator stage ladders without screwing up? Despite all the practice in the world that I've done on this game, and making it all the way this far, I've managed to screw it up a couple times. You saw one, here's the other. Anyway, I don't know which is harder between the arcade and the NES, because I haven't really played the arcade machine very much. I'd be interested to see what any of the experts on the arcade machine have to say about it. But anyway, that's just food for thought. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we will see you again. Thanks for watching.